Hello and welcome to another Disney Pixar video, and today we are going to talk about my favorite Disney Pixar movie, Up, from 2009. The cast members in this movie, we have Ed Asher playing Carl, Jordan Nagai as Russell, Bob Peterson as the talking dog Doug, Christopher Plummer as Charles Muntz. We started with a movie where a young Carl is actually watching a Charles Muntz documentary movie where of his experiment of looking for a bird. There's like little scenes where enough of Carl is trying to be Charles Muntz when he's walking through the neighborhood.
He hurdles Pikes Peak. He hurdles the Grand Canyon. He hurdles Mount Everest. He goes around Mount Everest.
And then Carl stopped and meet a girl in a house, and he lost his balloon by getting scared. Ellie shows to Carl her adventure book, and then fortunately enough, they got a little older and got married, and then they even moved into the house they met together. They're showing of their exciting adventures together as a couple, as a married couple and stuff. And they were thinking about kids, and it just didn't get through. This was another, like, sad moment in the movie where enough of it's tough to have that situation to happen, because I think people really looking forward to have kids when they get married and stuff, and it just doesn't come through. And I think that's like a really devastated thing to have, because you kind of like lost like a baby in a way and stuff, and I thinking that would really traumatize you a lot and stuff. But what Carl really did is really showed of enough of, like, hey, like, you still have me in a way where enough of we can still have a positive life. So what they did and stuff, so fortunately they just keep living and stuff, having that adventure they wanted and stuff. And then they started paying money for just good things and stuff, and then fortunately things just go wrong, the wrong way where enough things just go the wrong way and stuff, and so they had to use the money to pay what they need to structure what they need to fix and stuff. And fortunately enough, they got older and older to the age they are and stuff. So now they're like in their elderly age and stuff. And so they were still going to do more of the adventure. But fortunately enough, Ellie did not feel so well and stuff, because, these are the typical things that just happens. You die at an old age and stuff. And so this was probably the saddest like scene in probably any Disney Pixar movie, and probably in this movie as well, where enough of where Carl is show up for Ellie in the hospital, and what makes it more emotional in a way where enough of he brought the balloon he had to the hospital to see her and stuff, because this is exactly the same way where she went back to see him when they were kids as well. Just throw like a little flashback in a way of that and stuff. And again, it's just very like a very cute moment and stuff, and also very sad because she passed away. Carl has a seat going downstairs. Like, I'm more of a surprise. I don't really see anyone have like these and stuff anymore and stuff. Probably they still probably do and stuff, but I never seen anyone have one. And his house is around of construction working and stuff, so he's like has like the only house in this little like big giant area where they're trying to build more buildings, I guess. One of the other workers is doing construction working is actually the was voiced by John Ratzenberger.
Take that as a no then.
Carl meets Russell the first time, and he's like an explorer scout.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell, and I am a wilderness explorer in Tribe 54.
Carl got a lot of balloons to attach to his house so his house can float in the air and fly. There was a knock at the door, and he realized enough of like who that would be at the door if he's in the sky and stuff. And then somehow it was actually Russell was on his porch and stuff, and he let him in because, you know, obviously it's scary. Um, there was even a time where they had a rope on Russell to go outside, and then fortunately there was like a moment where he let go the rope, so that means like Russell probably like died from his death or whatever, but somehow enough Russell is now like inside the house now. Like I don't know if that was a like a memory or that really happened and it just didn't work, and then it's just like he's now back in. I don't know what just really happened. Russell had a GPS to help him to get to South America.
With this baby, we'll never be lost. Oops.
And then they finally made to Paradise Fall. Russell has a new bird friend named Kevin.
Shoot, get out of here. Go on, beat it.
And they found a talking dog named Doug.
Estoy de acuerdo contigo. I use that collar. Watashi wa hanashima. To talk with. I would be happy if you stop.
The other dogs was trying to find the bird, and then they got the one of the dogs was has a very scary voice to his like talking voice.
Mayhaps you desired. Squirrel!
The dogs are with Charles Muntz, and Carl is like meeting his hero the first time and stuff. And the crazy thing is at this age. I mean, if Carl is at this age right now, in his like 80s or 90s or something of it and stuff, and he remembers Charles Muntz. Like I know Charles Muntz was probably young and stuff, but Carl was probably like, I don't know, like 10 years old watching that movie of Charles Muntz. So, and I have a feeling like if Charles Muntz was going out to explore the bird at the time, I don't know how old was he at the time. Like I know he was young still, but say like enough of he was like, I don't know, like 20 years old. So Carl and Charles are probably 20 years apart of age and stuff. If Carl's in his 80 and 90 at that age and stuff, I don't know how old Charles Muntz would be and stuff. But fortunately, Charles was super nice to let Carl and Russell going into their blimp and talk about stuff. And then fortunately, the bird he was looking for was actually Kevin, Russell's friend, in a way and stuff. And then Charles realized enough of he found Kevin on Carl's house and stuff. So Carl and Russ are not in good shape right now. Kevin got hurt, and then after that, Charles Muntz took the bird. This is fortunately enough second day of recording myself. The other clip actually got cut off, so that's why you see me in a different clothes at this time. There was a time where Carl, looking back on the adventure book Ellie made, and actually there was more experiment or more photos she put in the adventure book where they did everything what they did. So that was their adventures together and stuff, and it was just a really cool moment. Russell is going to help out for Kevin, and then fortunately for Carl is to help Russell as well, where enough of he's trying to move the house, but the house is too heavy. So what he did is he just pretty much removed everything from his house to make his house lighter so he can move his house and stuff. And then after he left, the seats were also similar the way it was in his house. We had a scene where Carl versus Charles Muntz and like totally like hurt their backs. And unfortunately, Kevin is fine, and he is now back with his babies and stuff, where she has her own family. Carl, Russell, and Doug went back to where Carl lives in the first place with a blip. Was Charles Muntz blip in the first time. And also took over like the dogs as well. And then, fortunately enough for Russell, he actually got his badge, whatever. But fortunately, Carl gave Russell his, badge, what Ellie gave to Carl. So it was a really good touch of that. So Carl is like showing enough of being a good mentor to Russell. And then they had some ice cream as well. And then, fortunately enough, this was a really sad but really good ending. Was basically where the house did left. That's why he had to take the blip instead and stuff. The house actually did end into where the picture was, where Ellie actually made a photo of where the house was supposed to be at the Paradise Fall, and that is where the house exactly is at the Paradise Fall, on top of the side near where the waterfall. So it was a sad enough Carl lost his house, but fortunately enough, the house did make to Paradise Fall. That is it for Up. Again, this is like honestly my favorite Disney Pixar movie. The only thing why I actually love this, because I think in the storyline did really well. I love the characters. You feel bad for Carl because of how the adventure he had when he was a kid, meeting his girl and stuff, got married, and having that adventure with his wife and stuff. That's really honestly a really cool adventure he had and stuff. And then, fortunately enough, having more of the adventures with Russell trying to get to Paradise Fall, and then even meeting more people like Kevin and Doug, being part of his family and stuff. Honestly, it's a really cool story to evolve and stuff. It's crazy enough Charles Muntz became a douchebag, but there's always a villain in a movie. Kevin is hilarious. It's honestly really cool enough of there's a talking dog. We realize enough of it would be really cool if we actually understand of other animals or trying to speak in our language and stuff. And if this was actually a really cool technology we actually can actually have and stuff, this would actually be really cool. It'd be really interesting and scary at the same time, because fortunately enough, like when you just kind of like talk to like a dog at any time and stuff, and and then the dog just talking back at you, and you're just having like a conversation with your pet. And sometimes people are thinking that would be weird. Uh, It's like if I want to talk to my fish, just like I want to know what's going on with my fish. Like, are they dying? Are they cool? Like, are you chill? It's like, do you want me to clean the water or whatever? Like, what's going on in your mind? Like if my fish would absolutely talk back to me and stuff, they said enough of why am I in here? That is the biggest question of all. Going too much of that. You know, it's like a pet bird, you know, just like, set me free. I'm just like, no, I own you. And I think the biggest thing about enough for Carl to having that relationship with his wife to Russell, because they were kind of similar as that enough with crossing your heart and telling the truth and stuff. It really like brings a new level towards that of enough of where enough Carl actually trusts Ellie and stuff, and then fortunately now he has to trust Russell as well and stuff. When Russell absolutely said, "Can you cross your heart?" Similar what Ellie told him and stuff. It really hurts in like a really emotion way and stuff. So, I feel like a lot of people got really up to tears in this movie and stuff because it's a very emotion and exciting and fun adventure movie and stuff. And that's why I really enjoyed more of that and stuff. But yeah, and also it's cool to see a flying house. Like, like nobody doesn't make this up. Like nobody. Like I want to be in a flying house. Heck yeah, I want to float in the air. Actually, that would be scary. Easter eggs. Fortunately, you can absolutely see the Pizza Planet truck, like around of like other areas on the road, and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then A113 was actually in one of the buildings where enough of where Carl absolutely accidentally you know, hurt somebody and stuff, so he had to go like some court area and stuff, and one of the area things on the wall was A113. And the final Easter egg in this movie where when Carl leaves his house to the sky, when he passed through a building in one of the kids' room, you can actually see a Pixar ball in her room as well and stuff. And then you also have a toy bear, and that is Lasso, and he is from the next movie is going to be next, and that will be Toy Story 3. So get hyped for Toy Story 3. That's a really good movie as well. So hopefully you like this video. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more content like this. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching.